All right, hey everyone, it's Jeff here at StopThePirates.blogspot.com. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And how many laws are on the books? Millions. That's what the scam is. The bar attorneys. BAR is an acronym for a British accredited regency or registry. And the War of 1812, I think Trump just brought this up. I mean, not that I'm a big Trump guy, but it was interesting that he tweeted something about the War of 1812 when the United States refused to renew the charter for the Bank of the United States, like 1810 or something, which the King of England and a bunch of European bankers were all really the main shareholders in the bank. And they wanted to start their own money, own their own bank and issue their own money. So the British troops came down from Canada and burned down the White House and took control of the sureties, or the securities, and all of the paperwork, all the land titles and everything, and set up their own British accredited registry, which is what we have today is a British form. That's why they all wear black robes of law, the justice system. Even now today, you look at the Attorney General, when the Attorney General and the Secretary of State and the Secretary of the Treasury, all to accept their position, have to expatriate as a U.S. citizen. Because what they're doing at that point is going to work for Interpol, which is the international police. That's a whole different story for another day. So yeah, ignorance of the law is no excuse. In the court system today, on the U.S. slave plantation, every court case that is brought against a U.S. citizen, the United States of America is the plaintiff. They're the injured party. Why? Because they own you. And if you kill one of their slaves or you hurt one of their slaves, well, then you hurt them because you're an economic debt slave. And they took out loans on you when you were born through your birth certificate, issued bonds, and those bonds are insured and you're worth money. So you're an economic debt. That's like we have people coming into the country, and we have a lot of people retiring and dying right now in the United States, so they need to get new blood in here. And that's with all, I think, Western countries. And it's kind of like stealing cattle from another ranch, you know. You're just bringing them in, and once they're documented, that's worth money to the international bankers. They can start trading you and making money on you. They don't care what, color, if you're, this or that, how much you work for. I mean, it's all just a matter of how much money they make. I mean, the U.S. is set up, you look at, just like mortgages. I mean, what do bankers want to do? They want to make money. They want to loan money. They can't make any money by themselves, or they're just corporations, they're dead entities. So we bring them alive with our signature, and look at homes. I mean, if you go in to buy a home, these are set up by bankers. If you step back and take a look at it, these are just money-making schemes for them. The single-family residence. I mean, you have to go to them to get a mortgage because it's too expensive, really, to save up to buy one of these things. So you have to go to them to get a loan. And that's how they make their money. And that's why they set up these towns and they're little tax farms, little debt farms. But anyway, so ignorance of the law is no excuse. I could go on for days. A review of countless United States Supreme Court decisions since 1938, landmark case Erie Railroad versus Tompkins, that brought us into maritime admiralty law, clearly establishes that only the state has constitutional rights, not the people. The people have been pledged to the bankruptcy of 1933. The federal law administered in and by the United States is a private commercial law of the creditors, that due to the bankruptcy, every citizen, lowercase c, of the United States is pledged as an asset to support the bankruptcy. Must work to pay the insurance premiums on the underwriting necessary to keep the bankrupt government in operation under Chapter 11 bankruptcy reorganization. That upon the declared bankruptcy, Americans could operate and function only through their corporate, colored, state-created, all capital letters name that has no access to sovereignty, substance, rights, and standing in law. This is all the Supreme Court also held that general universal common law no longer is accessible and in operation in the federal courts based on the 1933 bankruptcy, which placed everything into the realm of private, colorable law, the law merchant of the Federal Reserve creditors. To take this to a different level and not only explain why you pay taxes, but also why you do not own the house that you live in, or the car that you drive, or own anything else you think you've bought and paid for, etc. I mean, look at the title of your home. Even if you have paid off the bankers, the state owns your property, so don't pay your property taxes. They'll come and take your house. And even on the title of the home, you're listed as a tenant. We're all just sharecropper slave. You don't have, I mean, to kind of step away from like what's going on, what they present to you on the television and the news and the red and the blue and all this bullshit, because that's all it is bullshit. It's just a drama to keep you, it's a mind fuck. I mean, if you look closely now, yeah, but it's real, but it's not really. Because everything's already been handled. And, you know, if you're brave enough to look into this information, there it is staring you in the face. And it's startling to say the least. And they're not hiding it. It's right there for you. But most people are too busy. So, where was I? You know, yeah, you don't own anything. Their state government and its creditors own it all. If you think you own your home just because you believe you paid for it using Federal Reserve notes, just like everything else you possess by permission of government, simply stop paying your taxes, which is the user fees, the licenses, and see how long the government and the creditors allow you to keep it before they come and take it away from you. Don't pay your car registration. They'll tow it off the street. It's their car. You gave it to them when you registered it with them. What is a registration? Registrate. Giving over to the king. You submit with an act of submission, and you register, and you apply. Submit your application for registration. You're begging them, here, please take it. Just like you do when you want to sign a birth certificate as a U.S. citizen. You're like, here, please, just take my kid. In the Sherper-Towner Maternity Act, what you're doing is you're really saying that you're a, you look at the birth certificate, this is a shocker for most people, but your mother is listed as an informant, and she uses her maiden name, which means you're basically a bastard child, and she is insolvent, and destitute, and has no money, so she hands the kid over to you, over to them. Every man is deemed required to know the law. Government expects you to know the law and holds you fully accountable for doing so. Ignoring these facts will not protect you. The majority of Americans have been given a public government education to teach them only what the public, i.e. government creditors, wants them to know. It has always has been each individual's personal responsibility, duty, and obligation to learn and know the law. Just like you're using Federal Reserve notes, which is a private, these things, private debt instrument. It's a security. So because we're using these on a daily basis, we're presumed to be experts in commercial law and bank trust law. You're using them. You must know what you're doing, right? Most people don't. Anyway, if you want to learn more about this, I'm going to cut this off here because it's getting pretty long. I'm going to start doing more videos, probably. Go to stopthepirates.blogspot.com. Thanks.